All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, I know that there are a pair of game sevens in the NBA playoffs on tap for this afternoon as well as tonight, but nonetheless, I want to talk about a topic that has been brought up during these NBA postseason, and it could be very relevant over the summer. Now, for the Cleveland Cavaliers, they just saw their season come to an end this past week. Okay. They have plenty of questions now that need to be answered over the summer months. And of course, the biggest question is going to be whether or not that all star guard Donovan Mitchell will be a Cleveland Cavalier when next season rolls around. Now, Mitchell is set to earn nearly $35 million next season, while he has a player option for the following year at nearly $37 million. And we all know, since Mitchell is currently playing for the Cavs right now, no team could offer him more on an extension than Cleveland. But does Mr. Mitchell want to be in Northern Ohio long term? There's also going to be questions about head coach JB Bickerstaff going forward. Okay. He just wrapped up his fourth full season in Cleveland. And with the exception of his first year with the Cavs, they've never had a losing record on his watch. But will he be there long term as well? So these to me are the two biggest questions, in my opinion, that need to be asked and answered in regards to the Cavs. You look at it, you got your best player and you've got your head coach. And of course, whenever you get to the postseason and whenever your season comes to an end, there's always going to be people who sit back and question and say whether your leadership is right going forward. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the Cavs do with JB Bickerstaff and, of course, Donovan Mitchell. Now, I will say this: Cleveland, to me, that was one of the best playoff series so far in the first two rounds of this postseason between Cleveland and Orlando, and we saw the home team win each game as Cavaliers were able to prevail in seven. Now, the Cavs going in were overmatched against the Boston Celtics, okay? And it did not help things that Cleveland did not have the services of Jared Allen in that series, nor did they have the services of Donovan Mitchell for the last two games, as he was out with an injury as well. The Cavs were clearly overmatched, and because of that, they fell to the Celtics in five games. So you look at Cleveland with the team that they have right now, and you ask yourself, are the Cavs a legitimate threat in the Eastern Conference? With what Cleveland has right now, they have the potential to make the playoffs. They have the potential to win a playoff series. But I think that is the ceiling for this Cavs team, the way that they are currently constructed. Now, it's going to come down to the front office as far as whether or not they feel that they can keep building upon this to make this team a legit contender, or do they want to try to retool things? So, with that said, it comes down to Donovan Mitchell. And should Cleveland look to trade Mitchell? I'll tell you like this: I think they're going to have legit talks with him to see whether or not he wants to sign there long term. Because if he does not want to sign there long term, Dan Gilbert, the Cavs team owner, from his prior experiences with LeBron James, he's not going to sit up there and just be willy nilly about this. He's like, you know what? If you don't want to be here, fine. They'll trade him and they'll get something back in return. And honestly, I think subsequently that does happen. I just don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see it as far as Donovan Mitchell being in Cleveland long term. So if Cleveland does decide to trade Donovan Mitchell, what would be the best teams for him? I know right now, a lot of people are going to bring up the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm going to get to them in a minute, but I'm going to throw some other teams out there. First and foremost, the Brooklyn Nets, and two surprisers in the Sunshine State. I'm going to say the Miami Heat, and I'm also going to say the Orlando Magic. And like I said, I will touch on the Lakers in a moment. But I think Donovan Mitchell going to the Brooklyn Nets makes a lot of sense for all parties involved. Let's be realistic. When Mitchell was looking to get out of the Utah with the Jazz, okay, it was one of those he really wanted to come to New York and play with the Knicks. That deal never went through, of course, and the Knicks ultimately got Jalen Brunson. So of course we know that Donovan Mitchell is really not going there. But nonetheless, you're still in New York City. You're playing with the Nets, and that team would be built around you. And on the flip side, for the Nets, after trading both Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant last year, this is a team in a big market, the NBA's biggest market, and they are without a star. And they want a star, at least one star, to kind of kickstart this thing again as far as getting them back into the postseason conversation. So I could definitely see that happening. We saw the Nets get an influx of players as well as draft compensation when trading both Kyrie and KD last season. And I guarantee you, if Cleveland were to move on from a Donovan Mitchell, that's what they would want in return. Definitely the draft picks and definitely the player compensation. So I think that works right there. I brought up Miami because you look at the way that the Heat are, and I know they got to the NBA Finals last year. They were done in the first round this year, especially with no Jimmy Butler and no Terry Rozier. Would they want to go out there and bring in another star? And on top of that, the other question is, does Miami have the capital, the assets needed to try to entice Cleveland to make a trade with them? I'm not sure. And then there's the Orlando Magic, and the reason why I bring them up, they're a young team. We saw them, push Cleveland to the limit, and they have a lot of young talent there. One thing that I think that Orlando is missing right there could be a finisher like a Donovan Mitchell. So I'm just throwing it out there. But like I said, I'm definitely going to touch on the Lakers. It's one of those where I think this is going to be a very interesting offseason for the Lakers. Clearly, you've got LeBron and AD in place. When you think about LeBron making those championship runs throughout his career, there's always been, that quote unquote big three, LeBron and two other guys. And of course, you got Anthony Davis in place. Would that work there? I'm not sure. Okay. I'm not sure if it would work between Mitchell, LeBron, and AD, but I would say this: I just don't see a scenario, and I could be wrong again, where Dan Gilbert is going to make a trade with the Lakers as of right now to say, hey, we're going to help make you better to try to make LeBron go out there and get another championship. I know that some fences were mended when Dan Gilbert and LeBron with Dan Gilbert and LeBron came back to the Cavs and they won a championship back in 2016. But at the end of the day, I just don't see it happening. I think if, and this is an if Donovan Mitchell doesn't want to be in Cleveland long term, I do think the Nets would make the best spot for him as far as a new team. It's one of those where he didn't want to be in Utah anymore with the Jazz a couple of years ago. And he really wanted to be in New York, but at the end of the day, Cleveland was the next best option for him short term. But I think long term, I think he wants to plant his flag someplace else. So this is going to be a very interesting summer for the Cavs. It's going to be a very interesting summer for a lot of teams. And like I said, that additional apron on the salary cap is going to make a difference. And I think there's going to be more player movement because of that than we are accustomed to. But nonetheless, for my money, all right, I would be extremely surprised to see Donovan Mitchell playing for the Cavs next season. I think the time is now. If both parties want to move on from each other, he's got that player option for the following season, yes. But you know what? If you're the Cavs and he doesn't want to be there, okay, I'm just saying this hypothetically, it doesn't make sense to have an unhappy camper there. So I think there's going to be some serious talks over the summer between Mitchell's representatives and the Cavs front office to see what steps going forward will they have, or what steps going forward will they have to seek to move him to another NBA team. But nonetheless, this is going to be an important summer in Cleveland. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank all of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 pounds of sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.